We Were Born to Die. A lyric by Lana Del Rey. A lyric that no one embodies quite like Sean Bean. As of the recording of this video, he has died a staggering 25 times on screen. But even amongst so many on-screen deaths, there is one that stands out from the rest. One death to rule them all.
Have you got one role in particular that's a favourite of your death scenes? Was the one that you enjoyed the most doing?
I like the Boromir death, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, I spent lots of, good, slow, heroic death, yeah.
So what exactly makes Boromir's death so impactful? The Lord of the Rings trilogy, directed by Peter Jackson, is undoubtedly one of cinema's greatest ever achievements, and the films have left a legacy I believe nothing else has matched since. Praise for the trilogy is near universal in every regard, and I could probably talk about this series forever. But in a world full of wizards, elves and hobbits, it is Boromir who has always stood out to me. He is not only my favourite character in Middle-earth, but my favourite film character of all time. Boromir is an incredibly rich character with various traits. He is courageous, noble, loyal, and proud. He is a great warrior who is loved by all, and he is the favoured son of Denethor II. However, due to the love he held for Faramir and the people of Gondor, he rejected this favour. It is here where we see Boromir's defining trait, his selflessness. There are so many small moments throughout the Fellowship of the Ring that really highlight this. Firstly, there is Boromir's relationship to Merry and Pippin, where he not only acts as a mentor to them, but a guardian as well. Then there are also the times when Boromir consoles those in grief, whether it's offering his hand to Gimli after the death of Balin, or to Frodo and the rest of the Fellowship after the death of Gandalf. Boromir is always happy to be in the service of others. At all times he displays an incredible amount of empathy and care to those around him. It is for this reason I have always considered Boromir to be the emotional backbone of the Fellowship, its beating heart, so to speak. But whilst Boromir's selflessness is arguably his defining trait, it would also be his defining flaw. Chronologically, the first time we are introduced to Boromir is after the reclamation of Osgiliath. This scene serves as a perfect foundation for his character and should definitely have been included in the theatrical cut of The Two Towers. The scene establishes the key dynamics between Boromir, Faramir and Denethor. When Denethor arrives in Osgiliath, there is a clear tonal shift in Boromir. His demeanour goes from one of relaxation to one of tension. Spatially, we switch from an open space to an enclosed one, where Denethor places a great burden on Boromir. The burden to retrieve the One Ring. It is a burden that no one should have to bear, and as the conversation unfolds, the camera zooms in more and more. The burden of this task suffocates Boromir, to the point of him refusing his father. While Denethor definitely loved Boromir, he also used him to further his own needs. He not only preyed upon Boromir's selflessness, but dismissed the fact that Faramir would have been far more suited for this task. It was these actions by Denethor that placed Boromir in a predicament not of choice, but of circumstance. Pushed out of Gondor and with the burden of an entire kingdom on his shoulders, Boromir embarks on his journey to Rivendell, a journey he would tragically never return from. Upon arriving in Rivendell, Boromir's first interaction would purposely be with his most important contemporary, Aragorn. Initially, Boromir is affable and is inquisitive as to who Aragorn is.
Who are you? I am friend to Gandalf the Grey.
When learning who Aragorn is, however, Boromir grows hostile. A perfectly understandable reaction given that Aragorn is Isildur's heir and has the lineage to potentially unite Gondor. Denethor's rule is failing, and this plight has collaterally affected Boromir and Gondor's people. Boromir is a man of duty, and Aragorn's denial of his causes initial conflict between the pair. Running concurrently with the pair's relationship is the presence of the One Ring. At the council, Elrond explains the quest that must be embarked upon, the quest to destroy the ring in the fires of Mount Doom. It is this quest that creates conflict within Boromir, as he is now placed between a quest to destroy and a quest to retrieve, both of which he has little hope of achieving. As the Fellowship is formed and they embark upon their journey, they are met with increasing resistance. After Gandalf perishes, Boromir's hope diminishes even more, to the point where he can no longer see a credible solution to his or his people's problems. It is this hopelessness that the ring preys upon, Boromir's perceived powerlessness in protecting his people. And yet, hope still remains. As Boromir becomes more acquainted with Aragorn, his respect for him grows, and he can see his competency as a leader and as a king. In a last desperate attempt, Boromir pleads with Aragorn to regroup at Minas Tirith, but Aragorn at this point has no faith in the race of men, no faith in his own people. In the aftermath of this conversation, Boromir is overwhelmed by his desperation. He believes the ring is the only chance of possible salvation.
I ask only for the strength to defend my people.
In his worst moment, Boromir tries to take the ring from Frodo. The ring had finally worn down Boromir's will, and it turned the selfless into the selfish. It was his betrayal of self that broke him completely. Alone and ashamed, he immediately repents and calls out to Frodo about how sorry he is. Sting glows, and the Uruk-hai descend upon Amon-Hen. After Frodo's encounter with Boromir, he knows he must bear the burden of the ring alone. To aid in his escape, Merry and Pippin act as a diversion. They race to the woods below them and find themselves trapped and defenceless. That is until Boromir reappears. He fights valiantly, but is overwhelmed by the sheer number of Uruk-hai. For the first time, the Horn of Gondor is blown to signal his location to the others. Aragorn tries desperately to reach him, but at the same time Lurtz slowly approaches. Tension builds until... the music stops and Boromir's breath is heard in isolation. In his final stand, his spirit is unwavering, and even as he is struck again, at the sight of Merry and Pippin he continues to fight. Perhaps too there is a desire for penance because of what he did to Frodo. With Merry and Pippin being captured, Boromir believed his sacrifice had been in vain and that he was a failure.
Forgive me. I did not see. I have failed you all.
He believed his city would fall and all would be lost. But he was wrong to express this. It was Boromir's sacrifice that restored Aragorn's belief in the race of men. Isildur, who was struck with 3 arrows to the back, made Aragorn lose faith, but Boromir, who was struck with 3 arrows to the chest, had the opposite effect. It was Boromir's sacrifice that cemented Aragorn's destiny to become king, and it is in this realisation that he finally finds peace, and for the first time his tortured soul can finally rest. In the aftermath of his death, Aragorn is visibly in his most emotional state. He takes Boromir's braces and becomes his living legacy. This final scene between the pair is among the trilogy's most emotional, and my personal favourite from the films. It is in understanding Boromir's character that we can see why his death is so impactful. Even after his demise, Boromir's presence is one that can be felt throughout the entire trilogy. His memory endures through the actions of Faramir, Merry, Pippin and Aragorn. Boromir truly was the best of us. A tragic hero who, despite his flaws, proves that there is still faith to be found in the world of men, and that there is still good to be found in this world. Be at peace, son of Gondor.